are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace.
Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our special Behind the Geeks episode for the Apple original series Severance Season 2. My name is Justin, and if you're joining us for the first time, well, we are Geekcentric, a podcast covering the world of movies, TV shows, toys, collectibles, gaming, and all things geek-centric. And today, I'm very excited to welcome Canadian filmmaker, director of photography, Jessica Lee Gagné. She is the director of photography on Severance Season 1 and has been working on Severance Season 2. But more importantly, she is the director of Episode 7 from Season 2, which is dropping Friday, February 28th. So this Friday for you to enjoy. A huge thanks to our friends at Apple who were able to squeeze us in for this amazing opportunity to talk to Jessica Lee about her time working on this show and directing. My conversation really stems from finding the visual look of the show to understanding a little bit more about what it's like to be transitioning from director of photography into directing, what her favorite camera rig is, and finally what directing episode 7 says about her as a filmmaker. This is such a great conversation. It feels like a real geeky conversation. We really get into it. For those who know me, I have a real passion for cinematography and camera work. It's something that I wanted to pursue as a career, but I still treat it as a hobby with photography and also doing whatever filmmaking I can within the compass of Geekcentric. But that said, this was a really great example of what Geekcentric's about. We just want to geek out with our guests, get to know them more, and get to understand their passion and their love for what they do. And Jessica Lee really brought that in today's interview, and I'm just so humbled to have the opportunity to talk to her, and I'm very grateful for the time that she was able to give us. Now, if you want to watch this interview, you can do so on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/geekcentric. We also have a ton of other interviews there, like our interviews with Giancarlo Esposito and Julius Ona from Marvel Studios' Captain America Brave New World. We also have some interviews up there from our Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, some interviews from the Goosebumps. We got a ton of stuff. Go to our YouTube channel, check it out. And if you're liking it, feel free to subscribe. And feel free to subscribe to our podcast. You know, we got so many more interviews coming. We got coverage for Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, which is going to be coming out later this week. So we really want you to join us and follow along for all of our coverage for all things geeky. And hey, if you like what we're doing, you enjoy listening to our episodes, feel free to give us a 5-star rating. It goes a long way. It helps us spread the word and get more people following Geekcentric, which is what it's all about at the end of the day. All right, well, enough of that. Let's get to my interview with Jessica Lee Gagné, director of photography for Severance and the director of Episode 7. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us on the Geekcentric podcast. I have to say it's such an honor to talk to someone who's been working on this show that has literally consumed my life and my mind. How are you doing today?
Well, first I want to say I'm sorry for the past 3 years of waiting. If it's been like, I don't know what you've been doing, but it's probably
we've been writing our own stories, thinking about our own things. You know, here at Geekcentric, we're huge fans of the show. We did a spoiler-free review for it. You're a director of photography. I have such an infinity and passion for cinematography and just lighting, and I'm happy that I can get to geek out with you for a bit about this topic, and that's kind of where I want to start. It's nothing new that Severance has a very distinct visual language, but in this season, you know, we talked about in our spoiler-free review, we got to spend more time not just in the innie world, but also in the outie world, and I'm wondering, how did you and your team approach finding the unique look to differentiate? Because we talked about how it feels distinctly different from, you know, when you're in Lumon and when you're not. What sort of technical choices were made to kind of help differentiate those worlds?
Well, there were original choices that happened in season 1, you know, like in the conception of the show. And it was more of like a traditional old school 70s style approach for the outside. And then inside we were doing a more robotic security camera, eerie kind of wider lensing approach. But slowly, those things kind of just started to morph together and created the entire look of the show. We do have a significant portion of the innie world that's more wide than the outie world, so that does come back a lot. There's certain lenses we try not to use on the outside world unless we're trying to make a specific statement or it's like a very wide landscape shot. So it's kind of a shot by shot call. And in terms of the sets and the world, I think the architecture drives the aesthetic a lot. Because the color palette is not so different inside and outside. It's more that there's, the white is on the inside and the lighting is all overhead and it's very bright. And we want to go for the actual white bright, and we're really pushing the cameras to be, actually it's more the color grade that we're pushing to get that nice color separation and contrast, because I actually shoot very much underexposed.
Good.
But yeah, that's just part of the whole process of the texture that I like in image. So yeah, I feel like it's not like I'm doing necessarily really different lighting. It was the nature of the sets called for different lighting. So if it was a day scene in Mark's house, I'll be lighting it, from outside, where it's not something I can do on the severed floor. But I did get the production designers to sneak in a couple light wells for me so that we could make Cobell's office a little bit more ominous. But yeah, participating with the production design team has been something that I've been working on really closely to make sure that we have a strong look throughout. But when it comes to lighting it, I'm always more inspired by what the architecture is giving me, which is why I participate a lot in location scouting and in these kinds of decisions on what the architecture is going to be.
Yeah, no, and it shows, right? It's funny you mentioned the innie world. It's so bright. It's very sterile. It's that intense light. And I think I was reading that you're more of a natural light person. So this was something new to kind of jump into and kind of experiment with. So it's really cool that you're working with the production design team to kind of get the looks. I think I read too, you worked with gaffers as well to kind of get the lighting a certain sort of way in some of those spaces. But you can see that like you said, there's such a relationship between the cinematography and the spaces and the architecture. And even in the outie world, it feels more docu style, handheld with warmer lights and more natural, versus that obviously, as you were describing, the sort of harsh white light that we see in Lumon that is so indicative of office life, if you will. Yeah.
I think it's a difference though between season 1 and 2. Season 2, we kind of push things a little further because we tend to avoid, even on the outside, warmer lighting. Mm-hmm. But in season 2, there are moments where we lean into a couple new things that we wouldn't have done in the past. But yeah, because the whole show does want to feel quite cold and ominous, and it's that's the Lumon world, and it's also the severed world, the choice of this character for putting aside a part of his life that used to have warmth and love, and now this is his reality. He's basically projecting this, right? How he sees the world is how we're watching the show.
Well, you were obviously director of photography. You've worked on so many of the episodes, but you're also a director of episode 7 in season 2, which I watched, and I have to say it visually stands out as having a very different feel from the rest of the episodes from the series thus far. How did your background in cinematography influence your approach to directing this episode? And did you find yourself thinking differently about the shots and the choices that you made?
Well, I think one of the most interesting things about the experience for me was the moment of being on set because I shot most of it except for a portion of it that was, I don't want to talk about it because I'll reveal things.
No, I know. Yeah, it's hard. I know.
But there's a reason why there's a little part of it that I didn't shoot. That's not a little, it's actually an important part of it. And I shot a lot of the severed world that's in that episode. And there was a realization on set that I felt like things were going so fast, and I didn't understand why everything was going so fast. And I realized that I didn't have the time that a director has when they talk to a cinematographer. I was going straight from watching a rehearsal. In the rehearsal, it was about blocking with actors, finding the best movement within the space. But then I had to kind of switch on to go into, headset on for talking to the camera department, talking to lighting department, shoot out those orders, make sure everything moves forward in that department. And then I'd fall back into the director thing. And when I work with Ben or other directors, the director has a moment where they come to me and we talk. And we talk about how we're going to like cover the scene. And I didn't have that moment. And I felt like I was just like nonstop because there was no conversation about how we're doing it. It was an immediate thought of knowing of like the camera's going there, it's moving this way. There's no discussion. And that like sacred time that a DP and director have is kind of like this beautiful moment for a director of like reassurance and, you know, feeling comfortable and having an overview with what they're doing. I just was like gliding through it. And at one point I realized what was happening. I realized that I didn't have that. And I looked to the scriptie, Sam Evoy, who's amazing. Absolutely love her. And I'm like, I'm going to start talking to you like you're my cinematographer. Because, like, I need to debrief. I need to tell someone we're doing this and then we're doing that. Even, like, because the AD is really busy and I didn't feel like it was right with her.
Right.
It was right with Sam for some reason because she also, like, has been following the whole thing really visually and really closely, and she's really, really good at what she does. And she actually became kind of this, like, ally partner for me. I know some directors lean really heavily on scripties, but every director is different. You know, they'll kind of, like, lean on whoever they need. But for me, working with her just gave me this comfort that I wasn't alone. I wasn't like creating this whole thing on my own. Like I needed that person next to me while we were shooting that was just nodding,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah, no, you almost had an innie and an outie going on yourself. Like you're outward projecting director, but your cinematographer is acting on the inside. So you need to get that out as well. I think that's like really, it's interesting when you have to marriage those two together and how you find that balance. So I'm glad you did with what I imagine you called her a scriptie. So I imagine she works in the script department. Is that
script supervisor?
Okay, cool. Awesome. I love the terms. I love the terms.
It sounds very Severance when you say scriptie.
Yeah, exactly. That makes total sense. I have a fun question. I'm a camera guy. I like cameras. I want to ask you, do you have a rig of choice? Like when you're shooting, like if you were to just pick up a rig and go, like, do you like to be on sticks? Are you more handheld? You know, are there any other setups? What kind of camera or lens would you use?
My first of all, my favorite lens in the world is the 50 mil silver bullet, which is like our lens. I feel like we own it in a way.
It's the C50, right? Is that what it's called? Yeah.
It's a really specific one, and it's silver on the outside. Dan at Panavision has been working on it for us a lot, and we broke it on season 1, and it was retired as a lens. And then basically I made calls and was like, can we fix it, please? And then I was told no at the beginning because there's something in the inside or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, I got to Dan somehow, and I pushed him to do it, and he fixed it, and we got to use it this season. But it's never been the same as in season 1. Mm-hmm. I think when it broke, like something really did break inside of it, but it's still my favorite. That paired with, okay, so Severance is shot on the Sony, and I freaking love the Sony sensor the best. But if we're talking about like rigs and how to pick up a camera, there's kind of nothing like an Alexa Mini with, I mean, it doesn't need to be that lens because I also like love a 24 spherical as well, but that kind of setup where I can just hold the camera like this and like run around for me is something I absolutely love. Like when I operate, I haven't been operating in a long time because like it doesn't really work with the way that we work in the shows I've done with Ben anyways. But yeah, I lose track of time. I don't know where I am. I'm like completely in the moment when I operate, and it's a really beautiful feeling.
Yeah, you get lost. It's like painting, right? You're just kind of like lost in the moment of filming. I'm a anywhere between 24 to 35. I love a 50 as well, but like a 24 to 35 I think just gives range in my mind. But I have a Sony FX 30, so you know I love that sensor as well. I'm new to it, so I enjoy the look of it.
I feel like Sony is kind of crushing it. I feel like if you know how to like do the workflow in post, it's really great, you know. And if you're, that's
what I'm learning now is kind of taking log footage, and because I'm more of a Canon and even just Lumix I used to work with the Vlog, so learning a little bit more. For my last question, I just wanted to know, like, for yourself, what do you think episode 7 says about you as a filmmaker? Was there anything specific you wanted to bring to this world with your episode?
Yeah, I think I'm really obsessed with the language of the subconscious, you know, and the things that seep through us as people and the things that catch up with us in life. And that world, you know, when you're like going there, you kind of need to really understand camera work and cinematography. So I feel like that's also one of the reasons why I gravitated towards it, is there was visual potential to really push the language, and I felt excited by that. I think the one thing I was surprised was how much emotion there was in this episode also. You know, it wasn't just fancy camera stuff. There was also really deep character story things going on. And originally there wasn't as many, and then it became more and more about that. And I realized I could handle that and I could hold that. So for me, that was a bit of a gift that was disguised. And yeah, I think it's like marrying a very strong aesthetic that's super technical, but still being able to make it emotional. Like, I think that's like also the art of cinema, you know, and filmmaking,
Absolutely.
especially on this level.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the episode, I'm so excited for people to see this episode. It is tender, it is beautiful, it is heartwarming, and like you said, like just the way memories and subconscious is handled. I think it's absolutely beautiful, the work that you've done and how it was pieced together. So I'm very excited. Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us on the Geekcentric podcast.
You.
It really means a lot to have the opportunity to talk to a director and director of photography who's working in this space. And I know it's 2025, and I'm going to say this, talking to a woman working in this industry is very humbling. So I appreciate you making the time to join us on the Geekcentric podcast.
Well, it's my pleasure. This was
Awesome.
fun.
Have a good one.
Thank you.